If you've ever said, that's a good question, when being interviewed on a podcast interview, I just want to let you know that you just threw up a bunch of red flags. Hello, I am Shayna Davis, the host of a podcast that is in the top 3%. And as someone who gets pitched often and who interviews hundreds of people every single year, I'm telling you that it is not a good positioning tool for you as a podcast guest. You've taken the time to position yourself and to do the work to build your expertise. And now you recognize that being a podcast guest is a great way to grow your business or drive attention to whatever it is that your initiative or your message is. So congratulations on that. Now let's make sure that once you land the interview, that you're actually interviewing in a way that is going to benefit you instead of actually go against you and ruin your credibility. It bothers me so much when I ask someone a question and the very first thing that they say is, that's a good question. Well, number one, as the host, I'm thinking to myself, of course it's a good question because I asked it, right? But why is that such a bad thing to do? Number one, it makes it look like you are stalling. It sounds polite, but it makes you look like that you are unprepared. It shifts the focus to the host cleverness instead of your value. It sounds like filler and it's just killing momentum. And for seasoned hosts like myself and like others that you're probably being interviewed by, it may be a sign that makes it look like you just haven't thought a lot about your talking points. And one of the things that I want to assure you is that more than likely, you have built a tremendous expertise. You're already impacting people with your message, with your skills, with your experience. So, who can speak better about what it is that you do and who it is that you are than you? So you want to make sure that that credibility actually shines through. And if when a host asks you a question, before you give your answer, you go, that's a good question. You've just shot yourself in the foot and made it look as though that you are not as prepared and that you are not as good at what it is that you do as that I know that you are and that you know that you are. So I want to give you this example. I wrote this down. Imagine pitching yourself as an expert, and then the first thing out of your mouth sounds like you're surprised that someone asked you something smart, right? Like that's not a good look. So why is it that guests tend to default to saying things that are really filler, like, that's a good question, or thank you for asking that, or any of the other fillers that we have a tendency to use when a question is asked of us. The number one thing that often happens is that we need a chance to like settle our nerves. We need a chance to kind of mentally stall because maybe we're inexperienced or maybe we think that we're not as good as what we really are. But what often happens is we have a lack of clarity in our messaging. I personally believe that if you can't succinctly and quickly answer a question about what it is that you do and how you do it, then you probably need to spend some time on your messaging. Perhaps you should ask ChatGPT to help you do some deep research and say, this is the audience I serve. Here's the problem that I help them to solve. Can you help me come up with some clear messaging? And don't feel bad if that resonates with you because it took me years to really get clarity in my messaging. And I probably too stumbled over myself a little bit when I was doing interviews. So make sure you're getting clarity in your messaging. Also, I think the reason why we sometimes want to say that's a good question is because we're just looking to build rapport, but oftentimes it can backfire on us. So here's what it is that you should say instead. If a host asks you a question in your interview, jump straight into the answer with confidence. Because again, who can speak better about what it is that you do or how you do it than yourself? So just jump straight to it and give an example, tell stories, be experiential in your answers. And if you need to bridge between the question and the answer, here's some things that you can say instead. Here's how I look at that. Let's break that down. What most people don't realize is, or this is something I've dealt with a lot, because this helps to frame your answer in a way that positions you as the expert that you are. So here's an example fix that you can use. Swap, that's a great question with. This comes up a lot, especially with clients trying to land high level visibility. Here's how I handle it. Because again, you're not just educating, you're not just giving information, but you're also demonstrating what it would be like to work with you. And that's going to come across so much more powerfully than it would if you stall by saying, that's a great question. Okay, so here is a bonus. I want you to begin to, before you do your next interview, before you do your next set of interviews, I want you to prep your power phrases and openers before the interview. I want you to practice responding with clarity and not compliments. And I want you to leave the good guest energy behind and aim to be a bankable guest. Aim to be a guest that any host would recommend you to their friends, that any host would want to give you a glaring representation of what it would be like if they had you on their show. Be the type of guest that any host would want to give you a great review because you show up powerfully, you show up clearly, and you show up with a great message. So if you want to become the kind of guest that hosts want to promote and invite back, master your delivery and ditch the fluff. I can't wait to see what it is that you create from here. Bye bye.